What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tribal Talk. I am Will, and I am here with Brooks. Say hi, Brooks.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here to do our episode 7 recap of Survivor Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. I said the unforgivable name.
It just, it's never quite stuck with me. I
No.
still refer to it as season 35. But,
I think it's a true testament to how bad the name is that Jeff didn't hold on to them after they did the first tribe swap. He referred to them. I mean, obviously he couldn't because wouldn't have made sense. But like Jeff dropped the Triple H names very early on.
I feel like that was like a regrettable creative decision on their part.
Yeah.
Anyway, episode 7, Will. I gotta say, I once again, I really enjoyed an episode. This season, at least for me, has started off pretty strongly because where we finished, the first half is finished, and now we're in the second half. And if the second half is as good as the first half, in my opinion, this could be, I'm not sure if it's a top 10 season, but definitely top 20, I'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely a top tier.
Yeah, it's up there for me. We'll see what happens.
As long as the back half matches the front half, then yeah.
Exactly. So
it could flop, but Jeff has assured us that Jeff thought that was boring and that the rest of it is really exciting. So like if what we've been watching was boring to Jeff Probst, then like
yeah, I don't get the notion of the boring pre-merge. That didn't make sense to me. I mean, maybe the Simone episode, and to be honest, the premiere wasn't the best either. But
yeah,
other than that, I thought it was fine. So
yeah.
I don't understand what all that's about.
Mm-hmm.
But
we lost some people who had some gall. You know what I mean? So like we lost Alan, we lost Allie, we lost Jessica. Not to like we're talking about the episode, but like to spoil it, I guess. So like this pre-jury, we've lost some people who like had some traction. You know what I mean? So maybe he's just upset that they're not.
I think there's
the jury portion of the game.
Well, but I think every season there's people who go home pre-merge that had potential. But yeah,
alas,
you can't live in the past. So let's get right into episode 7. So we get back from Soko's tribal council, and Chrissy's talking about how she feels like she's in a strong power position because both Ryan and JP are solidly in her corner. And then you can tell the merge is upon us because they cut to the other two tribes. They cut to Levu, where Devin and Ashley and Desi are practically near death because they ran out of food, and then you see them eating the last bit of sugar that they won at that reward.
Yeah. And, I'm surprised they didn't milk that. Like, why have we not known that about them? Why did they wait until right now to tell us that Levu was like starving?
I guess because of the merge feast or whatever, to like show that was a game changer for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Yawa, which I think was the most interesting part of this. Showing the last we would see of these pre-merge tribes, and it was basically this team of 5, saying we're sticking together, which I think is interesting considering what happens throughout the episode. So we see that, and then the production was a little cruel because they faked him out when they walked out onto that beach. They thought it was another challenge, and then surprise, it's the merge feast. And I feel bad for the crew that had to build all of that and then for it to just be a joke. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I bet they'll use it for a reward later down the road, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, merge happens. They feast. There was no. I was surprised there was no hidden advantages at the actual place that they were
Yeah.
eating.
I found that weird too.
But sure enough, um, there was one when they got back to camp and they had new tools to
Mhm.
build, but no one found it. So I'm assuming it's still laying on the floor at their camp.
I have no idea.
So
It was in that bundle of nails, wasn't it? So like, did they
I'm not
not use all the nails?
maybe. I'm not sure how you don't see that because it sort
Yeah.
of sticks out, but I'm guessing it's still up for grabs.
Yeah.
I'm interested what the advantage is. Probably something dumb like an extra vote or something. Um,
Well, apparently there's a twist next episode that we've never seen before because it's Jeff said it's something they've wanted to do for a long time. I don't know if that twist applies to the thing in the nails because I was under the impression that the thing in the nails was a clue to a hidden immunity idol, but an advantage makes more sense because Joe hadn't played that idol for the camp yet.
it seems like I read somewhere that someone said it was a secret advantage rather than
Okay,
an immunity idol clip.
gotcha.
So
I did just read before we did this that Jeff said there is a twist next episode they've been wanting to do for a long time. So it must be
well,
something new, whatever it
looking
is.
at the preview for next episode, I'd say something's going on there.
Yeah, someone
Well,
finds it.
yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh goodness.
So yeah, so we see Ben and Chrissy reconnect. Um, Joe is sort of rubbing people the wrong way,
Surprise.
as we sort of expected he would, because that's what he seems to do best, I guess. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think. I mean, all these people who have been separated are sort of reconnecting at the merge feast. Nothing groundbreaking, I think, really happens. I think it's more so when they get back to camp and the scrambling starts that the action really starts. So I guess let's talk first about so it's the voting makeup is sort of following along the lines that we predicted it would. The
Yeah.
healers versus the heroes and the hustlers. And Ben and Lauren were sort of portrayed to be in the middle in this episode
Yeah.
because they still felt like they had a connection to the healers from the Yawa tribe. So especially Lauren.
Yeah.
Now I gotta ask you, Will. I was sort of questioning Lauren's motives here because while I think she had a good relationship with Dr. Mike, it seemed like the whole time we saw her, she was sort of annoyed with Cole and Jessica. Well, at least Cole for the most
Yeah.
part. So I wasn't seeing this big love fest that this tribe apparently had together. I don't know. But I was under the impression Lauren would go back with Ryan and Devin, which ultimately she ended up doing. But it seemed like, I mean, she was running and telling Jessica and Dr. Mike about Devin wanting to take out the healers. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about Lauren's motives here? Because I mean, I like Lauren, but I'm not sure being on the bottom of this healers alliance was her best move. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think Lauren. I'm not sure why we keep running into this issue of people who are like doing really well and are in really good positions just suddenly decide they want to join the Healers Alliance. But I understand why Lauren would rather work with Mike and be with Mike than she would want to be with Devin or Ryan because Mike is more of her kind of person. You know what I mean? Like they have more things in common. They're both parents, so like it's easier for her to bond with Mike. So I think that the bonds that she had with Ryan and Devin from the Hustlers tribe, like those are all good and all, but at the end of the day, like Lauren's not gonna feel close to them because what does she have in common with them? Whereas like she was on this tribe with Mike and Ben, who she is far more similar to in terms of like her real life. And I think that those kind of things tie you closer to people. And I think that Lauren going back to Jessica and Mike was just showing that Lauren is going to allow her heart to kind of dictate what her brain does. Not that we haven't been seeing that the whole time, because like we've seen Lauren is annoyed with Patrick, so Patrick needs to go home, and then like Lauren is annoyed with Cole, so Cole needs to go home. Things like that. You know what I mean? Like we've known that she's kind of letting her emotions get invested, but I think that it was definitely an emotional move. I think it was wrong for her to want to work with them as a group, but I understand why she would rather be with Dr. Mike.
I guess it seems to me like she wasn't thinking long term.
Right.
Because to me, those healers, I mean, 5 people strong, they
Yeah.
seem pretty tight. To me, I would be threatened by that. And I would at
Right.
least want to vote 2 or 3 of them out.
Right.
Um,
Well, and unfortunately, she did. You know, she did end up seeing sense. It's not like she shot herself in the foot by like
yeah,
actually putting herself there.
it was the whole running back and telling them their
Yeah.
plans and stuff.
Right.
Because I mean, she voted against them in this vote, but who's to say what she does next week, you know?
Right.
Because I feel like she's still close with Dr. Mike, so who knows? And they need people on their side, so I feel like she's one of the ones they're going to go to. Because I do think she is, I think she really is the swing vote, and I think it'll be interesting to see if anything comes back to haunt her. You know, I mean, are the healers going to be pissed that she lied to them and voted out one of their own? You know, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with Lauren.
I mean, I think well because Lauren and Ben never really promised anything to the Healers Alliance. Do you know what I mean? So like the only people who really could be justified in being mad at them would be Cole and Mike. And at the end of the day, like they don't really have the most power or pull in the tribe. And so I feel like a lot of the backlash isn't going to fall on Ben and Lauren in this instance, at least hopefully. Um, I don't know.
but
I see it as like
Mike,
Lauren was,
Mike does have an idol, so it could.
but
I mean,
he wouldn't use it to get back at the two of them. Do you know what I mean? Like he's smart, and so he would use the idol to take out people he can't work with. Like if he takes out the right pieces, Ben and Lauren will come back to him, and he knows that. So like,
I'm not so sure.
okay.
Um, but
What did you think about so like we've talked about how doing this like healers plus Ben and Lauren thing is obviously a bad move for Ben and Lauren. How do you feel about Jessica and Mike kind of proposing this to them? This let's do Yawa plus Joe and Desi. Like what do you feel about that? Do you think that might have been the first misstep in Jessica, at least with Jessica, maybe with Jessica and Mike going into this merge, not thinking that it would look really intimidating to be like, hey, let's be Yawa strong, but like let's also include every other healer in the game in the alliance because like why not, right? Was that
well,
not like I just feel it was a poor decision for them to pick Joe and Desi to fill that up.
I think anyone who's going to try to align with Joe is pretty much just Joe is like a giant anchor, and he's like uh, holding your alliance from setting sail. You know, I just feel like Joe is a big roadblock, and he would probably better serve everyone's game if he was voted out
Yeah.
next. Whether or not that happens, I'm not so sure. But I mean, he plays aggressive. You know, he's pulled out 2 idols now, so now people are really threatened by him.
Yeah.
I think if they were smart, I mean, if Jessica uh, and Cole and Mike would have said, you know what, you guys want to vote out Joe, go ahead or something. You know, I mean, it seems like he was too toxic of a personality.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when Tasha and Cass voted out Jatia. You know, if they had made it to the merge, Jatia was going to hurt their alliance, you know, so
Yeah.
they had to get rid of her. So I see the same situation happening here. Um, Joe could very well go find another idol, who knows? But I think they would be smart to distance themselves from Joe. I also don't think people trust, at least people on the opposing side. I think they think Mike is like the next like David Wright or something like that. So I think they were gonna want him gone as soon as possible too. So
If he keeps throwing Chrissy's name around, he's gonna go soon.
yeah, and I mean Cole is this huge physical threat. So they're just it's like Tandang, in my opinion. Just way too. To me, there's a benefit in going to tribal council a few times in the pre-merge because you don't seem your core alliance doesn't seem as threatening, and the problem is most of them did not even go to a tribal council in the pre-merge.
Right.
So, and the same was for Tandang, and they fell apart once the merge happened. So, I want to say if Mike and, well, Mike's the only healer I see doing reasonably well, like going deep. So I think if Mike,
I'm more concerned after this episode.
I think if Mike really wants to go deep, he will get off the sinking ship because Joe is the iceberg, I feel like. So
yeah, I mean, I think this next episode is going to be really pivotal for Mike because I think if Mike leaves himself attached to Cole and Joe, he could potentially be going home as soon as next episode. So I think Mike needs to jump ship now or he is quickly sinking.
I mean, there's just three huge threats. I mean, Mike is super smart, Cole is super physical, and Joe is super aggressive. I mean, when you put those three together, I mean,
there's nowhere to hide.
One of them has to be voted out next, I think. So, anywho, so we saw, you know, Lauren being courted, and then we saw, you know, Ben was also portrayed as like a swing vote. I'm not so sure about Ben. I feel like Lauren was the true swing vote, like she was truly on the fence. I think Ben maybe would have considered it, but I think Ben really looked at his early game relationship with Chrissy, and he felt like he could trust her more, and probably didn't want to work with Joe, to be honest. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Joe hurt these healers' chances, I think. I don't think anybody wants to touch Joe with a 10-foot pole, you know?
Not after the last tribal.
So, but Ben was still annoyed with Cole after all that had been going on, deservedly so. And even Cole he's sort of realized that he was not. He didn't realize how he was coming across, and so he apologized and then accepted the apology, except not really. So apparently Ben just doesn't really like Cole that much, at least on the island. So maybe Ben was like threatened not only by Joe, but like Cole and Jessica as a pair, and that's why he stuck with his early game alliance, which I think was the best decision for him. And I think it was the best decision for Lauren, whether she realizes it right now or not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on Ben? Well, let me ask you this. This episode was a very Ben-heavy episode.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've gotten some backstory on him. And I would say he was very present in the pre-merge, and then this was very Ben heavy. Do you think
Mhm.
Ben is um, sort of a contender? I mean, I think he may be a contender. Um, I think he could be like a Mike Holloway, maybe sort of someone who is just very charming and uh, good at the social game, and he lets uh, other people, notably probably Chrissy, do a lot of the dirty work, and he ends up coming out uh, the good guy. So,
Yeah,
uh, I mean, if Ben and Chrissy are sitting in the final three together, I mean, is Ben a contender? Well, what do you think?
absolutely. I think in any scenario, if Ben is in the final three, Ben is a contender. Ben is one of the people that after this episode, I have a really big question mark next to, because we had kind of decided pre-merge that Ben was going to be somewhere around 6 or 5, just because of like what his edit had been, and because we were fairly certain that a woman is going to win this season. But after this episode, I am less certain. I don't know. Ben had a lot of really good content this episode, so that either means one of two things: A, he's going to just continue getting better, or B, he's going to crash and burn very soon. And I don't see that one happening. So, I mean, Ben's definitely a contender in my book, at least. I think Ben's going to go a lot farther than we thought he was going to.
I think he's going to make the family visit because
Yeah,
we saw that whole thing about his wife, and I feel like they wouldn't have shown us that if he doesn't make the family visit. Uh, so I believe that's at like the final seven or something like that. So I think he's going to make it that far. After that, I'm not so sure, but I don't know. He's getting a very positive edit. And if you notice, well, I mean, this was a very Ben heavy episode. I think Ben probably got the most confessionals out of anybody, actually.
oh
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you notice, well, that first merge episode, Sarah got all the most confessionals. It was like it took
Mhm.
a turn. We saw a little bit of Sarah here and there in the pre-merge, sort of like Ben, and then all of a sudden it was like lots of Sarah.
Yeah,
So I, if Ben gets more on air on screen time next episode,
yeah,
I'm I'm just saying possible contender. It would be
absolutely.
interesting if he and Chrissy are in the final three together and it comes down to a 4-4 tie between
I
those two.
really, I really don't think it would be. If Mike and Carolyn didn't tie, Ben and Chrissy won't tie.
I just keep going back to this whole Jeff Probst revealing the tie secret thing. I can't help it. I guess maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I can't help it. And plus, they made it an 8-person jury instead of 9, which
Yeah.
seems odd to me. I'm like, why would they do that? So, um, yeah, I I don't know. Will, I don't know. I just I hope it does just because I've been so fixated on it. So,
Should we talk
um,
about Chrissy? Be an easy transition.
sure, go ahead.
So she had the first confessional again in this really important episode. So that's all three of the really important episodes in the edit wise so far that Chrissy has been the first person to speak, um, which is weird because her first confessional kind of like set her up for a very big failure, I feel like. When she's like, I feel like I'm in a great position. I feel like I'm in control. That's
Famous last
normally
words.
right. That's normally followed by that person like quickly not having control. And so she did have it this episode. But we didn't like no one told us that Chrissy was in charge this episode. Do you know what I mean? Like Ben was in charge this episode. Chrissy was just
Yeah,
like we saw Chrissy making the decision, but we didn't hear from her. And so I'm concerned about her now.
And the interesting thing was they were scared of her because she was figuring
Good at
out
math.
the math at the immunity challenge, not because they thought she was running that alliance, which is interesting.
Cool. She's a, like this is what she does for a living.
Even though she really is running that alliance. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, here's my concern about Chrissy. So you and I both have her as our winner pick at the very beginning. And as long as my winner pick makes the merge, I'm happy.
Right.
So, but if she really does win, I'll be really happy because I'll be like, ha! So, and plus it would be cool because she follows us on Twitter. But the thing that someone said this, I believe it was Sierra Dawn Thomas of all people from last season. She said, once your name is spoken into existence as a person who could go home, it's impossible to get your name out of circulation. And so, tribal by tribal, eventually it seems like people are going to vote you out eventually. And the fact that she's been acknowledged as such a threat at the very first merged tribal council has me concerned for her. Now, she very well could be getting the Jeremy treatment, which is very real. And she could go home in the next few episodes. There's 3 scenarios. Well, let me lay them out for you. So 1 is the Jeremy treatment. 2 is the David Wright treatment, where she is on the cusp of the final 3 and someone that she was close to flips on her at the final 4 or final 5, I suppose. And then it's who wins is sort of wide open at that point, I guess. And then 3rd scenario, final 3, she wins. So I feel like, and I think you would probably agree with me on that there's 3 scenarios for Chrissy. So
absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like her being a threat this soon would suggest the Jeremy treatment, but also David was sort of in this position and he made it to final 4. So maybe it's the David treatment. What do you think?
Based off of this episode, I think Chrissy's going to make the finale, but I think she's going to go home before the final 3.
Yeah, she'll join a league of final 4 finalists like Kelly Wentworth and David Wright, and who was 4th? Sydney Gillen. So
I don't know. I think Chrissy is setting herself up to fail right now. Like I think we're seeing shades of Chrissy knowing she's like that she has a lot of power, but not really knowing how to hide she has a lot of power. Because even at the merge feast, like Homegirl's just like openly talking to Ben in front of everyone, like not really whispering, just kind of like quietly talking to Ben in front of everyone about what needs to happen strategically, and just like little things like that are just, I don't know, it just concerns me for her. I'm afraid she's gonna get caught because I don't think she's trying to hide.
I think we're seeing a lot of her because I think she is a good player, and I think if she does lose, she will probably be brought back again at some point. But it's just a matter of when, because I'm not convinced so much that she wins anymore. But it's still out there. It's still a possibility. But and you make a good point that she's always getting screen time at the very important moments of the episodes. But I don't know. I'm gonna be nervous for Chrissy every episode.
Me too.
I think maybe
we're just locked into that. I don't know.
I was the same way with Sandra last season. I'm gonna be nervous for them every episode until they get voted out. So
it's been a really weird time with Chrissy because it's like you go into every episode being anxious, but like honestly, the writing for her has never been on the wall for me. I know there have been a few times where you've been concerned because people have thrown her name around. But like I don't know, there's just every time I just get a vibe from the edit that like people are entertaining the idea of getting rid of her, but she's not going to go home. And so like it's just I don't know. We're living in a weird world with her. Her edit is both really really great and also really really bad. So I just
let me pose you with this question, Will. So the last few, probably I guess Sarah excluded, the past few winners, Adam, Michelle, Jeremy to an extent, Mike to an extent, and Natalie up until I guess the final 6 or 7. The winners of these past few seasons have, for the most part, been under the radar. So, do you think the winner is possibly someone we're not seeing that much of yet? Because I keep thinking about Michelle and Adam in particular. We did not see much of them in the beginning of the merge, and really their time to shine was towards the end, and then
right. I
they
mean,
were
I've got
given
to
a win.
guess. I've got to guess, but I know that you disagree with me.
Go ahead and talk about your guess.
So, okay. This is like I don't know. I disagree about I don't know. Like Adam and Michelle both were very under the radar. But I think that Natalie, Mike, and Jeremy were Natalie was under the radar until Jeremy went home in San Juan del Sur, but like all three of them still got a lot of storytelling screen time. So like while like them winning wasn't obvious, them being characters was obvious. So I don't know this season if we really have that many people who can be considered as under the radar as Michelle was in Ko Rong for a long time. However, I do think that Ashley is like a very viable contender for potentially being that person this season. I don't know. It's just like we hear from her a lot. We know she understands the game because we saw that in the early pre-merge. We've gotten Ashley as a gamer. We've gotten the more humanized version of Ashley. Even in this episode, like we have Ashley narrating Levu's starvation. But then we didn't hear anything about her pulling strings this episode. And I think that Ashley just fits the personality style of that person who's going to sit back and like observe and be a part of the alliance and then strike when she's just had enough. Because like we already know that Ashley and Chrissy don't really get along, but like they were all buddy buddy this episode, like in the background of things. Like Ashley was just sitting with Chrissy. And I think Ashley talks to a lot of people and she's aligned with the right people right now. Like she has her relationship with the heroes and then she also has her relationship with Devin. And I think that of the people in that alliance, Ashley's probably one of the more approachable people for a potential like someone like Desi to come to as an alliance member. So I don't know. I just think socially Ashley's in a really good position right now to go deep. So I think if we're gonna have an under the radar winner, it's not gonna be JP or Desi. So like it could be Desi, but like it's not gonna be JP. So if we're gonna have an under the radar winner, I could definitely see it being Ashley.
Okay. Let me tell you who my under the radar winner pick is, which is going to surprise you, especially from what we said in the preseason. So I think I've changed my mind. I think Devin, of all people, is a potential contender.
Oh yeah.
And that's because in this episode, we saw a good bit of Devin, and not just him just being himself. We saw him working, trying to gather votes, strategizing with people. He was able, I'm sort of crediting him for convincing Lauren to flip to their side, because we really didn't see much of Ryan this episode. This was like the least we've seen of Ryan all season long so far. We didn't really see him talk to Lauren, so I think, I think Devin possibly. I think, and I think he's charming enough, and I don't think I feel like there's bigger fish to fry than Devin right now. So I think he could stick around for a while. And I don't know, maybe he ekes out the win. Will, what do you think?
Could. I mean, I could see it happening. There are so many people this season who could eke out a win that it's just like, I don't know. I'd say right now the only person my money isn't on, well, no, the only two people my money isn't on are Cole and Joe. Anyone else, I could see. Varying levels of, but
I would pretty much, I'm pretty much in that corner. But it's just interesting. I mean, Devin was one of the last people picked on our fantasy draft.
We thought he was going home 5 episodes ago.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was going to rub people the wrong way. Didn't end up happening. And then he may just eke out the win. Well, so is there anything else you want to bring up before we talk about, what happened at the vote?
Yeah, I think it was just like this really small moment, but it caught me by surprise that Ryan lied to Devin. Like the only chat we saw of the two of them kind of reconnecting right after the merge feast, Ryan lied to Devin. At least he didn't tell him the complete truth, because Devin was like, so you've got JP, like you're close with JP. And Ryan was like, yeah, we voted together every time. I'm super close to JP. Why don't we do like me, you, JP? And like, I don't know why Ryan is suddenly pretending that he and JP are like best buds. Since last episode, he was just talking about how little they have in common and how much he didn't want to work with JP. So I think Ryan's trying a little too hard to hide his relationship with Chrissy from Devin, and I think that's weird. Like, I get it, but Devin already knows that Ryan gave her that advantage. So I'm confused as to why Ryan is suddenly deciding to lie to Devin, or at least hide things from him.
The only thing I could maybe conjure up as reasoning, and you're right in mentioning that, I completely forgot about it, but maybe JP is someone more along the lines that Devin would want to work with or something. Okay. I mean, maybe they just get along better. Maybe, like you said, Ryan is trying to play off his relationship with Chrissy because he doesn't want Devin to feel like he's been replaced.
Right.
So I think it was smart of Ryan to do that. Actually, and JP isn't going to refute any of that. So oh, JP. So I think it was
purple. He is purple.
Yeah. I think it made sense that Ryan would do that.
I mean, it makes sense for him to hide it. I don't know. It kind of just shows to me he doesn't really trust Devin as much as he says he trusts Devin, which makes me worried for him because Chrissy doesn't trust him as much as he thinks she does. So like,
maybe he was worried about because maybe he was worried about Devin's relationship with like the healers that he was on the tribe with. Maybe he was just trying to be sure Devin came back into the fold.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just testy. I see the waters for Ryan becoming very rough very soon. Once all of this healer drama kind of settles down, I'd be worried if I were Ryan.
Yeah.
We didn't really hear from him a lot this episode, which is weird.
We didn't see much of Ryan. After him being a central character for most of the pre-merge. I'm pretty sure he got a lot of airtime each episode.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means. Will, not sure
Right.
what it means. Anything else before we talk about what happened at the vote?
I mean, that's mostly it. Shout out to Desi for winning individual immunity.
Yeah, we thought you were gonna go home, Desi, but you pulled out.
Congratulations. You made the
Um,
jury.
but we did say contenders to go home were Desi, Cole, and Jessica.
Yeah.
So we were on the cusp,
Yeah.
and it was indeed a 7-5 vote, like we predicted.
Yeah.
So I'm going to count that as a win. Will, 3
I'll count it as a win.
weeks in a row.
I mean, I'm really, really sad that Jessica is gone, but like, it was the right move, and I'll count it as a win because we kind of predicted it.
Well, I think it kills two birds with one stone. So you
Yeah.
split up Jessica and Cole, and Jessica's not playing an idol. So I think
Right.
I think it was the smartest move. And you know, Joe indeed played an idol, and he was not hiding it, and he was letting I actually felt like he was like repeatedly shooting himself in the foot there.
Oh yeah.
I think
Should we talk about it?
I mean, I think the best we sort of said, you know, I think Joe's the iceberg, and the healers are the Titanic. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Joe, the best thing for him to do would have just been to, you know, just say, "Does anyone
Mhm.
have an idol?" and just play it on yourself. You don't
Yeah.
have to do all that extra. That just, I mean, if his intent was to cause chaos, they weren't going to vote for him anyway. So,
Right. If you're gonna pull the idol out and wear it around your neck, you either don't play it at that tribal council or you don't play it for yourself. Because why would why? Why would they vote for you? I just
and I think it was, I like that they're being objective about it. I like that they were smart enough to not vote Cole, because I think there was potential Joe could play the idol on Cole, because I
Yeah.
think that would have been more predictable
yeah.
than voting Jessica. So
Mhm.
good move on Chrissy and Devin, really, who
Yeah.
sort of thought that out. You know, Jessica, I'm sort of surprised Jessica went home before Cole. I figured he would be the one that would leave before her, especially after his wonderful edit.
Mm.
But
Bless him.
you know, I guess they were showing a lot of Jessica to sort of establish, you know, what a strong
Mhm.
twosome they were, and then it would make sense once they decided to split them up. So I think it was the right move. Weird. It's weird to me that Jessica was not allowed on the jury. So I
Yeah.
guess they won an 8-person jury.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I think they're starting to lean towards the 8-person jury so that there's not a possibility of a 3-3-3 tie. And like the odds of that happening are like super, super narrow. Like if you can get 3 deserving people to the final 3, like cool. I don't know. It makes me sad because I want her around more. But like
She was also voted out of her very first tribal council.
yeah.
But I'm telling, I feel like there is something to it about, you know, I mean, I'm not saying throw a challenge, but
right.
I don't think you
Maybe
want to
throw a
win.
challenge.
I don't think you want to win every single one.
Mm-mm.
Especially, like, I feel like Yawa theoretically could have thrown a challenge and just vote off Lauren or Ben, you know?
Or Cole after they decided they wanted, like, they could have thrown last week. They could have thrown.
Yeah, I just think that intimidates people when you like never lose, you know?
Yeah.
So, and she also, I believe she joins RC and Nick from Koron.
Mhm.
This happened to 3 people who make the merge without going to tribal and then get voted out.
She's the only one who doesn't get to go to jury.
Ah, that's sad.
So sad.
Yeah. Oh well. It looks like she had fun
Yeah.
at pre-jury because she's posting a bunch of selfies with Rourke and Allie. So
Yeah.
apparently they're thick as thieves, which
Oh, yeah.
doesn't surprise me actually.
Mm.
So Will,
Yeah.
let's talk about the preview for
Oh, goody.
next week.
Let's do it.
Um,
I
the heck is going on?
They are, you know, we obviously haven't seen the episode, and so we don't know how it's going to be portrayed. And like, I mean, I've mentioned before that I think that Chrissy is not doing herself any favors in the eye of the public. But like, Cole isn't either, and so I'm very interested to see how this little scuffle between the two of them is going to play out.
And it would be very typical of the Survivor editors to blow something out of proportion that isn't actually because I feel like they're trying to make us think it's an idol or something.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if that's not actually what it is and it's actually something pretty stupid. I feel like that's typical Survivor.
I mean, if it's something stupid, then like Desi is gonna go home next episode or something, because that was the only thing they showed in the preview. So if it's not like a for real like duel for the advantage or idol or something, then like next episode's got to be real bad.
They may have to rename it Survivor WWE.
Fingers crossed it's an advantage. Fingers crossed Chrissy gets it and not Cole, because
I feel like Cole, if it is some sort of advantage, idol, whatever, and Cole doesn't get it, a huge target on his back.
Oh yeah.
Just let everyone know he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they'll feel very comfortable.
He was digging. He was digging in the sand. So I feel like it either is an idol or Cole thought there was an idol there and Chrissy panicked. So like maybe there's nothing buried under their flag in the sand, and maybe they all just think it is.
I feel like it's gonna be like Pearl Islands where they hid the treasure chests at camp and it was filled with food.
There you go. Or like with Taylor.
That would be
Gen X.
Yeah, I feel like that would be typical Survivor to do something stupid like that. Because we know Cole's hungry, so I feel like he would be.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Chrissy is on top of him.
I think it has to be a game-related thing. I don't see Chrissy like trying to like throw herself out there for food.
Unless it's some like silly camp moment or something. Yeah. I don't know.
But if it's the only thing they're showing in the preview, the episode would have to be really boring for it to be just a silly camp moment.
Bait and switch. If it is game related, I am going to be living for whatever drama is about to occur.
Yeah, but like also that'll look real bad on Cole wrestling with an old woman. I mean, she's not old, but like to him,
it's like he's wrestling his mom or something.
Yeah.
And she's like screaming for JP or something.
Yeah.
Are we about to see like a brawl? Like what is going on?
Maybe JP gets ejected from the game next week. Maybe he punches Cole and JP's just gone. I mean, we saw him throw a little tantrum when he lost immunity. He like grunted and like threw the thing across. Like it was a very large ordeal when JP lost immunity today.
Well,
today,
at least
last night.
At least he showed some emotion. Thanks for letting us know you're still breathing, JP.
It was very interesting.
So, best and worst players of the week.
Okay.
Who you got?
The best player this week is Ben. Like, it's Ben. I think Ben played the merge the best out of anyone. He was in the middle. I think he knew what he was going to do, but I think he weighed both of his options. And I mean, like, good on him. I think Ben proved himself to be a really good game player this episode. So Ben is the best player, and man, I don't know. Worst player I think is going to go to Joe. just for all of his tribal council shenanigans. Because like I think if Joe would just keep his mouth shut at tribal council, Joe would probably be one of the best players out there this season. But like he just can't keep his mouth shut, and so he's shooting himself too many times in the foot. Like if he could just keep his mouth shut in tribal council, he'd be fine. But he can't, and so I think Joe was the worst player this episode, even though he played an idol on himself. A lot of people didn't do themselves any favors this episode, though. So like that award could go to a number of people, but I'm gonna give it to Joe.
So I'm going to give best player of the week to Devin, actually, because I think the defining moment was Lauren flipping, and I think he had a big part in that. So, and if Lauren didn't flip, I guess it would have been a 6-6 tie, and Rocks potentially could have been drawn. Who the heck knows?
Yeah.
So good on Devin. And then worst player, I'm 100% with you with Joe. All that extra was just not needed. It's not needed. Like, no. Stop trying to be Tony. Which to me, Tony was, I mean, he was aggressive, but he wasn't a show off.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like his tribal council demeanor was different than his camp demeanor. Like, I think at tribal council, he was actually fairly calm most of the time. But anywho.
Tony never did things to put on a show.
Right. And he never whipped out, idols and then, showed off and all that stuff.
I think he did whip out the Tyler Perry idol, but like other than that one.
No, I'm saying like he was gonna play it, and then but he wasn't acting a fool.
Valid, yeah.
It's the acting a fool.
Joe, we just need you to stop acting a fool, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So last question. Who is going home? This is very difficult, I think.
It is. I mean, it's wide open. It's so wide open because this advantage can throw everything off. I think it's going to be a healer. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, I think healers are contenders.
My gut says Mike.
Okay. He doesn't have any protection anymore, and I'm not sure he can find it. I'm going to go Joe. I know that seems obvious, but sometimes the obvious person goes home. So
yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that and would be okay with it.
And I feel like if he's a bitter first juror, that's very fitting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just, he hasn't found another one yet. Until he does, I'm not convinced. I think maybe they could potentially split the votes because I think they have the capability to do that now. So he should go home. So
yeah, hopefully.
Unless he wins immunity. Then I don't know.
If Joe wins immunity, so okay, let me edit. Let's say Joe. I'll say Joe. If Joe wins immunity, though, I think Mike's done. Especially if they're afraid of Cole in this advantage.
But the thing is, Mike has an idol.
But will Mike see it coming?
I think he would. So I think in that case, Desi or Cole go home. Probably Cole. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think the three healer men are in the biggest danger next ep.
Yep.
I think Desi's going to be in danger every episode because she's just, I don't know, not protecting
unless she wins immunity again. Which if she wins immunity a second time in a row, the second she loses it, I think she's gone.
So. Oh yeah, yeah. We'll see. I think those four are the next four to go, though. I just maybe not Mike. I don't know.
I think one more healer will go, and then I don't think it's going to be an obvious Pagangi. I think there's going to be some power plays going on. I think
Okay.
someone
Yeah,
could potentially take out Chrissy. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Or
Then
Ryan.
I think the gate is wide open.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I see at least 2 more healers going before anything crazy happens.
I see one more,
I just
but I also see your point.
I think it'll depend on when Desi goes. Does that make sense? Like I think it will depend on when Desi is voted out because I don't see a power shift happening prior to Desi going home. Because I don't know. I feel like everyone else is a character, and so it'd be really hard to kind of make sense of a Desi boot if a power change is already like if something's already been shaken up.
I don't know. Any other final thoughts, Will?
I'm super excited. This is so cool.
Me
We don't know
too.
who's gonna win.
I know this is a good season. I don't know what people are talking about. Anywho,
We should start next week also saying who we think is gonna win. Because we start jury next week. And so we can start trying to predict who the
yeah,
actual winner is.
this much is true. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for our episode 7 recap.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Tribal Talk. And we will see you next week. Well, Will's going to see you next week. I will actually be gone to Atlanta, but I will be back the following week. And I will make sure Will makes my voice heard because I know everyone is interested in what I think. Okay, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.